Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Eric with SweetSpotDFS, and welcome to my DFS preview for the 2022 Players Championship. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I like to do these previews slightly different than what everybody else in the industry likes to do, whereas they might talk about every single player in the field or their favorite golfers in each price point. I like to go over the requirements needed to find the optimal lineup this week. And I do that by looking at past optimal lineups as well as past top 10 finishes at this tournament dating back to 2013. It gives us kind of a good idea of which stats actually matter at this tournament. And I'm going to do that all by looking at the bucket system, which if you're unfamiliar with, I'll explain more when we get there. But of course, we'll be looking at the golf course, as well as the tournament information. But before we get in there, I've got some giveaways to talk about. The first one being a subscriber giveaway. Now, I usually wait until there's a goal that's met, but we've kind of been going backwards in subs. So what I'm going to do is just reward any of the subs that I have right now. You're subscribed to this channel and you leave a comment down in the comment section, whatever you'd like, does not matter to me. This week, I can't tell you we're going to see a 10K golfer in there because the bucket system doesn't really point that out. So just leave me whatever you would like. Your favorite golfer, your favorite salary point to choose golfers from. You let me know whatever you want. You're going to get a free entry into this drawing. And if you participated in any of the previous weeks, you'll also just be added to this giveaway. So $10. I'm just giving away $10. No goal needs to be met. You just need to be a subscriber and you need to leave a comment down below. The second giveaway that I'm doing is a prize picks giveaway. I have a link in the description below that'll send you straight to the website to prize picks, right to the sign up page, utilizing the promo code SweetSpot. So if you sign up with that promo code, again, it's SweetSpot, you put $20 in your account, I'm going to gift you 20. So basically, if you participate in any of these things, I'm just going to reward you guys. I'm going to give you money. And that's better than what anybody else in the industry can say. Because whereas they are going to say, hey, you're going to have a deposit match up to $100. Well, guess what? So am I. But instead of just that, I'm also giving you $20. So you can put up to $100 in your account, or you can put $20 in your account. It does not matter to me. As long as you do that, I'm going to gift you $20. So those are the two giveaways that have money involved. I do have another giveaway that I'm doing, which is the optimizer that I'll be showcasing in tomorrow's strategy video. If you want your hands on this, it's not completely finished because I have to wait to add tee times to it, but I already saw that they came out. So I'll update that shortly, but you can just put your name on the list. Email me at sweetspotdfs@gmail.com. Ask for the optimizer and I will send it your way. You got to be a subscriber to the channel and also leave a comment in the comment section down below. So it's just like the subscriber giveaway, but I'm going to be giving you the optimizer instead. And it's pretty awesome. I have a video that goes along with how to use it. There are a lot of things involved. I mean, the video is 30 minutes long. I could spend 30 minutes talking about how awesome this optimizer is. So if you want to get your hands on it, again, be subscribed, email me at sweetspotdfs@gmail.com, and then also leave a comment down below. Again, I don't care what it is. If you need a topic, give me your favorite golfer on the slate or your favorite salary point that you're going to choose golfers from. But those are the giveaways. I also am providing the dream sheet as well as the bucket system in a community sheet, if you want to call it that. Again, there's a link in the description below. Basically, what you see on the screen right here is exactly what you're going to get. There is some information in between that I still have yet to fill out, like I was just talking about with the optimizer, with tee time pairings and stuff like that. But you're going to get all of this information. Find the link down below that's called cheat sheet, and you're gonna be given a link to go to a page just like this. So those are all the giveaways. Let's go ahead. Let's get in this thing. Tournament, obviously, the Players Championship, established in 1974 at Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. This is a famed venue. Obviously, everyone knows about it. TPC Sawgrass. You got the island green on number 17. A lot of volatility because of all of the water that's around. This is a famous golf course. And of course, you can't say the Players without mentioning the fifth major, yada, yada, yada. The prize purse is pretty large, and that's why you're going to always have the best golfers come to this tournament. They want to win some money. But moving on from there, you got 144 golfers in the field. I think Ryan, well, no. Yeah, Ryan Brem would be your last guy in because he won the Puerto Rico Open. And also Bryson DeChambeau withdrew, if you didn't already know that. The cut is top 65 in ties. That isn't going to change anytime soon. And really, none of these golf tournaments have different cut scenarios unless it's a no cut. So it's either top 65 in ties or no cut. Average winning score, -14. Average cut score is around even. Both of those numbers, I think it's like 13.885 under is your winning score. We just round up to 14, and it's just above even, so we round down to even. It's fine. It really doesn't matter. This golf course, it's going to be open to any type of golfer. Your strength of field is 835. It's pretty damn strong. I think the PGA Championship, which was the strongest strength of field in like the last 5 years or something like that, I think that had a number of like 924 or 926. Could be a little larger than that. I might be forgetting, but 835 is pretty high. Last week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational was 560 something. So really good strength of field this week. Hopefully the cream rises to the top. It should when it comes to stuff like this. But when we get into past optimal lineups, you're going to see there are weird things that happen inside the top 10 here. The weather, Thursday, Friday, 74 and 73 degrees. It's going to be raining all week, which will soften up the golf course. But as many people online have stated, they do have sub-air underneath the greens. So it's not like the greens are going to be super soggy. And there are a bunch of opinions out there. You know, what do we do with this information? Well, carry distance ends up being kind of the king when you look at soggy, wet conditions, because nobody's going to get roll. So it's all about how far can you fly the golf ball. Those guys are going to get a little bit more of an advantage, but they're always going to get an advantage. The further you hit the golf ball in this game, the higher your potential is of scoring well at any golf course, because it just means you will have better scoring irons in your hands more often than not, or you'll also be able to drive the greens fairly easy. So distance will always be king. It's no different here. I don't think you really have to go out of your way to try to play into that rain or just weather narrative whatsoever. Just pay attention to the wind, which obviously it's forecasted 10 to 15 on Thursday, 5 to 10 on Friday. This is Monday night. This stuff can change very, very easily within the next few days. So take this with a grain of salt. Always look at your weather Wednesday night to see if you need to make any modifications to your lineup. You know, either do the early late split or the late early split, whatever you want to do. Just pay attention to the weather and make sound decisions based off that. Again, we're at TPC Sawgrass, Architects Pete Dye. So what do we do with this information? And actually, hold on. Let me go a little bit further here. It's a par 72, 7,200 yards. Bermuda is the base layer, but I want you guys all to understand something. When a golf course is overseeded, there's no such thing as a base layer. It's not Bermuda plus whatever grass, unless it's warm enough for Bermuda to grass or Bermuda to grow. Most of the time when you say it's overseeded with a certain grass, you're not combining the grasses. It is primarily the one grass that's the overseed and very little of the other one. The reason that there needs to be overseed is because the other grass can't grow at optimal growth conditions, meaning they're going to have very little to do with how it's going to affect the ball in the way it rolls, in the way the club gets through the ball. Whatever your overseed is going to be your dominant grass. So there is no reason to really look at Bermuda. I like to follow a Twitter account called PGA Splits 101. He reaches out to each of the superintendents to actually get their information. Now you could also go to GCSAA, which you would also expect comes from the superintendent, but that's not always the case. I worked in the golf industry for 14 years. I know that sometimes is on the assistant's shoulder. The assistant will fill out that information because the superintendent's too busy taking care of the golf course, and he goes, oh shoot, the PGA needs this information. Can you hurry up and just write it out and send it to him? That stuff happens. And we found out the GCSAA has been wrong in the past when it comes to course conditions. So I will take somebody who reaches out to the superintendent, their word over what we blindly follow without even understanding why. So they say it's POA on the greens, but it's always been POA plus bent. So it's POA trivialis plus velvet bent grass. Usually when those two grasses are mixed together, you just look at bent grass stats. So that's my feel. That's my lean this week. No matter what anyone says, I don't think the POA is going to be prevalent. I know it's usually the most dominant grass, but again, based off of past results, I should say that this isn't again, it's the first time you're hearing it. Based off of past results, just by looking at bent grass, when these two grasses are together mixed, it's going to be your better indicator of finding success. Likewise, from what I've heard players talk about, the greens roll pretty pure, pretty straight, meaning you're not getting a lot of the bumps from the POA, and that's a very good indication that it's taking on bent grass greens traits. So that's what I would use, bent grass on the greens, despite what the rest of the industry says. I understand everyone's saying it's Bermuda. You wouldn't have overseed. And again, if you follow that PGA Splits 101, who reaches out to the superintendent, it's not Bermuda. And it's far enough north of in Florida where the temperatures are cold enough where Bermuda's not growing. And for any naysayers out there, you need a soil temperature of around 55 degrees. And if you don't know how to take the soil temperature, you look at the air temperature. And you need the air temperature to be 70 degrees on average throughout that entire 24-hour span. So you can see on Thursday, it's 74 degrees is the high. Chances are the average is under 70 degrees. Same goes with on Friday, 73. And I think Sunday, it's going to be 53 degrees. That is not optimal Bermuda growth. And I'm not just saying those 4 days in particular, but that's what we have in front of us. I don't think any of the days earlier in the month, in February or in January, were warmer than it is right now. So just keep all that in mind. If you don't want to look, if there's a week where you don't want to look at grass stats, this is an okay week to do that. But I would look at Pete Dye splits. I would somehow weigh that in your model somewhere. Don't make it super heavy, but there is a skill in playing Pete Dye golf courses. And I think you're gonna be able to tell that by just looking at the history of people playing at Pete Dye golf courses. There are certain golfers that continue to pop, and it's just that they don't get fooled by how Pete Dye plays with the optics on the golf course. So just throwing that out there. Look at your Pete Dye stuff. Do not look at your Bermuda stuff. Just don't do it. You'll still get on some of the elite golfers who are good on all surfaces. So if that helps you out, great. But those 6K golfers, there's just no reason, no point. Don't look at Bermuda. So that's all I got for that. Let's go into past optimal lineups, and we're gonna start with the year 2017. I was excited to go over past optimal lineups. This is one of the first weeks where the salaries go back to 2017. But here's the sad part. In 2020, that's when the PGA Tour decided they were going to take a suspension in play. And really, there was no golf for a long time. So although the salaries start in 2017, meaning here at SweetSpotDFS, we have one additional year we can look at salaries, it's taken away from us because of COVID and the suspension throughout that entire season from the players on. It's not the entire season, but you probably, if you're watching me, you already know everything that went on with that. But starting in 2017, here's what I said in the beginning of the video. Salaries are a bit wonky when it comes to the optimal lineup. You take a look at the 6 top golfers, and I do have to say I'm not sure this is the exact optimal lineup, but it's going to be pretty close. But you could fill in anybody down here, does not matter. You have 6Ks and 7K golfers. Optimal lineup scored 41,400. I mean, not scored, but it used up 41,400 of the salary, meaning you left $8,600 on the table. That's insane. That doesn't happen ever. Obviously, it did during this week. So I created a realistic lineup so you guys can kind of be aware of how to build lineups and still probably win a GPP despite the weird scoring that's inside the top 10. So it would include a 12K golfer, an 8K, 7, actually 2 8s, a 7, and 2 6s. So that's also kind of a non-traditional build, but you're still including a 10K and an 8 and a 7, and that's usually how you want to be building your lineups, especially with the 6K as well. Going to 2018, we're leaving money on the table once again. We're leaving $2,300 on the table this time, and your top guys, it'd be 11K golfer and then 5 7K golfers. Your realistic lineup would include Tiger Woods down here at 8,600. That means it's just over 49,000. And obviously, if you've been here long enough, you know I'm always trying to build my lineups, never leaving more than $1,000 on the table. So it'll always be 49,000 and above. So that's why the realistic lineup shows what it shows. But yeah, you would have an 11K, an 8K, and a bunch of 7s. So again, following that 11, 8, 7 trend, or high 10K, 10K plus, going with an 8 and a 7. It's working so far. In 2019, you left $900 on the table to get to the optimal lineup. And then I do have the winning GPP lineup also on the screen. But the optimal used 10,800. Then it went to 11, actually it started at 11,000, then to 10,000, 2 6Ks, actually 3 6Ks and 1 7. So again, salaries are really weird at the top of this leaderboard. There really isn't a tell. I can't really tell you anything. I think you can still be pretty safe using a 10K plus golfer, include 2 6Ks and 1 7K, and then fill in the rest however you want to. I wouldn't get cute and I wouldn't leave a lot of money on the table, but I mean, you can see the GPP winning lineup only left $100 on the table, and it included a 10K, 7, 6, 8, 9. So it went 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 7. So it's your traditional build, 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. And I have no issue if that's how you want to build your lineups this week. Usually that's the way we go. 2020, sad, did not finish. One round of play was done with. Hideki Matsuyama, I believe, was winning that tournament. I know Bryson DeChambeau was one of the favorites in that one, but obviously it didn't happen, so we don't talk about it. In 2021, your optimal lineup left $900 on the table, but there was actually a tie. There were 2 lineups that tied with each other. You either used a where's Gooch? Okay, so you either use a $7,000 Taylor Gooch or you use a $7,500 Sergio Garcia. They both scored the same amount of points. Your salary differences would be $49,100 with Gooch or $49,600 with Sergio. So either way, they're both above 49,000. But if you want something closer to that lineup, then it would have been the Sergio lineup at 49,600. And how that looked, you had a 9K, another 9, 8, 7, 6, and then obviously a 7 either with Gooch or with Sergio. So no 10Ks in that one and 2 9Ks. But again, you have a 7, you have a 6. Actually, yeah, you do have a 6. So for me, I think when we look at past optimal lineups, it just feels like you definitely want a 7, you definitely want a 6, if not 2 6s, and then just finish your lineup with whatever you can. I mean, I know that's pretty simple, and I think that's what we all do all the time, but it's just kind of going to show, excuse me, it's kind of going to show that anything's going to work here. It's going to be weird. That's just how it's going to be. So take that with what you will. We can dive a little bit deeper into salaries by looking at the bucket system. So let's go ahead and dive into that. Now, just to remind you guys, or those that have never been here before, the bucket system, it looks at 6 different stat categories. You got last year and last week finishing positions. You got course history and recent form. We look at salaries, and we look at strokes gained stats, all in my own way. So like, I'm only looking at top 10 finishes, and I'm basically capturing each of those top 10 golfers. Which of those stats were they, which buckets were they in? That's probably a bad way to explain it. There are 6 buckets per stat category. And depending on, the golfer, they're going to fit in one of those buckets. And I'll talk about each one of them as I go. So hopefully that was enough. But yeah, apologize for butchering that. But I do have all your salary ranges here. 10K and above, 9, 8, 7, 6. Your high 6, that's 6.5 and up. And your low 6, 6.5 and down. When you're looking at, the table that I have in front of you, you can either look at the amount of times they finished inside the top 10, buckets of those. You could also look at the mins and the maxes just to kind of, either curb your expectations for one or let you know that, if one has a 0, it means it's not a confident bucket you want to be picking golfers from. Same goes with one that has, at least 1. That's telling you every single year there's been at least 1 inside the top 10. And if you want to dig a little bit further into it, optimal lineups, you could see the min and the maxes there. We can actually see one bucket out of all of them, 7Ks. You have at least 1 in the optimal lineup, and you have at least 1 inside the top 10. It's really the only certainty that we have when it comes to looking at these salaries. You do want a 7K. And I get it. It's going to depend on each tournament that's played. You can't just look at these stats and go, oh yeah, because we see 7Ks, we should expect to see another one. Well, that's where I include strength of field. That's where I also include the success rate. How many golfers are in that bucket this year versus how many there usually are, and I make projections out of them. So with the 7Ks, I'm projecting somewhere between 1 to 4. Remember, in this column here, we're always rounding down. So this is 1.97. I mean, conventional wisdom is you want to round up to 2, but that's not how it works with the bucket system. You want to round down. So definitely you want 1 no matter what. But you can have up to 4. But the confidence really lies within 1 to 3. You want at least 1 to 3 7K golfers in your lineup. Again, we're taking strength of field involved, and it's a good chunk of the strength of field. Like I said, it's 835. These numbers together, they equal 835. And 270 of those points go towards the 7K range. So it's pretty good. 7K range is really good this week. Expect that we're going to see, at least 1, if not 2, inside the top 10. And really the other buckets that are in the salary ranges, not super confident in. There's a lot of 0 projections for your minimums, which usually on the 10K range, we always see at least 1. It's usually like 1 to 3. Like this number will be 1.34 and this number will be like 2.2 or something like that. So it's like telling us, yeah, you want a 10K golfer. That's why in the comments, when I tell you leave a comment down below and just give me your favorite price point, I usually say give me your favorite 10K golfer. If you've been around, you know that. That's not what I'm saying in this one because it's not true. There's a chance we don't see a single 10K golfer inside the top 10. That's when it comes to the bucket system, like that's pretty scary because we usually, like I said, we usually see one inside the top 10. But those are your salaries. We might as well talk about strokes gained because these are kind of the ancillary stats of the bucket system. Usually your last week, course history, and recent form are basically where you want to be. I do strokes gained a little different. I just look at off the tee and putting splits or stats most of the time when determining these buckets. So strokes gained 1 is all strokes gained stats positive. That's off the tee, approach, around the green, putting. And then it just kind of follows this pattern. Positive off the tee, positive putting, whatever. There's got to be one negative stat in between. And then strokes gained 3 is the same way, but it's positive off the tee, negative putting. Strokes gained 4 is the same way, negative off the tee, positive putting. And strokes gained 5 is negative off the tee, negative putting. And then we got no strokes gained stats within bucket 6. So how that shakes out is basically what we see every single tournament. You want at least 1 from strokes gained 1, 2, 3, and 4 ranges, and never more than 3. Like you wouldn't want more than 3 in any of those buckets, but I think you can be pretty liberal and just spread it out. Like you don't need to, build a lineup with too many golfers that are strokes gained 1s or 2s or 3s. Really up to you. And the strength of field's pretty split. The success rates are, it's higher with the higher buckets. 1 and 2 is usually your best buckets in each one of these when it just comes to performance. But looking at optimal lineups, you know, past optimal lineups, we have what, 3 years of data, I think, on this. So not quite normalized. Don't take it for absolute truth. But we usually see 2 strokes gained 1 golfers. Again, cream rises to the top. And then strokes gained 3, strokes gained 4. That's your positive off the tee, negative putting, and negative off the tee, positive putting. So those ones do show up inside the optimal lineup every single year. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. You can either follow it or not. I'm not gonna chastise you one way or the other. I will say this though, buckets have been 94% correct for over, what was it, like 8 months, something like that. Last week we had 33 out of 36. The week before that we had 34 out of 36. The week before that we had 34 out of 36. So the bucket system is pretty hot currently. Looking at the last year buckets, the ranges that we're going to be talking about going from here are 1 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, 80 plus, which are your missed cuts and withdraws, and then your did not plays. So which stat matters here? Okay, so does it matter playing this tournament the year before? And if it does, what kind of finishes show up inside the top 10 more often than not? Clear cut, well, I should say it shouldn't be a clear cut winner, but pretty much your top 20s. So you want somewhere between 1 to 3. Missed cuts, believe it or not, are really good here as well. You want somewhere between 1 to 3 on that. And then your did not plays. This is such a volume driven bucket. You can tell that because there's 60 golfers in that bucket this year, where we usually only see 33. That's what's really driving these numbers up. I would say, yeah, you want somewhere between 1 to 3, but I am cautious of it. I'll be open to having 0 as your minimum for this bucket, just because of it. I don't know. It's going to be so difficult to try to figure out what type of golfer you want from this bucket because of how many are actually in it. But if you want to take that risk, by all means, go for it. It's just 60 golfers are a bit difficult to try to figure out. The last year buckets are going to be probably something you really want to dig into. The top 20s, that is. So, you know, you can Wikipedia that. You can look at PGA Tour past results to see which golfers fell inside the top 20. Personally, here at SweetSpotDFS, we'll talk about this in the strategy video tomorrow. We'll go over our anchor plays, and this will be one of them. So you can follow along in the video tomorrow to see which plays, at least that I like, and which ones you might like. Let's just go to last week bucket. I usually like to do course history with last year, but this is kind of how it began with me. Last year, last week, course history, recent form. So does playing last week matter at the Arnold Palmer Invitational or the Puerto Rico Open? Now, Puerto Rico, not so much, but it doesn't matter playing at the Arnold Palmer. Well, it actually looks like it does. Having a top 20 the week before coming into this event proves to be pretty successful. You have a pretty high success rate, the frequency clip. So that means how often does it actually have a top 10 golfer from this bucket show up? 85%. It's pretty darn good. 16% success rate, that's pretty high. Projecting somewhere between 2 to 4, that's also really high. So yeah, getting a top 20 here getting a top 20 at the Arnold Palmer Invitational is going to be a good thing this week to look at. So I encourage you guys to do that. Now, looking at the other big bucket would be just not playing. So either you top 20 the week before or you just don't play. Those are your 2 avenues to success playing here. And I think that's probably a little to do with recent form. The other buckets in between, there's nothing that's for certain. There are nothing but 0 projections for minimums to like 1 for your maxes. So really load up on your did not plays and your top 20s. You can obviously sprinkle in any golfer from these buckets. I mean, there's 71 golfers you could probably just skip and just focus on top 20s and did not plays. Now, I think your bare minimum is 4 between, you know, these 2 buckets, but that's entirely up to you. I'm not gonna make it definitive, but I will be definitely playing golfers from these 2 buckets. Moving on, we'll go into course history and recent form. So again, just follow along the same way we did with the last year, last week buckets. Goes by all these 20 ranges. Course history for me goes back to 2013. As you can see here, this should actually go to 2021. And you can see your projections in here. Your really good one is that 40 to 60 range, followed by that 20 to 40 range, which a large chunk of our golfers are from. Nearly half of the field are in these two buckets. So they are going to be very volume driven. That's why they're very good. But your highest success rate is that 20 to 40 range. So look for a golfer. Again, you can actually look this stuff up for yourself with the cheat sheet that I provide. Again, link in the description below. But I'm going to move on from here. I don't have anything else to really talk about when it comes to just looking at those buckets. Pretty self-explanatory. And then recent form, which looks like you want at least one for each 20-point range for recent form. And recent form goes back the last 7 weeks. So this goes all the way back to the American Express. I don't like to go any further than that. It just, you start, talking about a couple months ago. So recent form to me isn't your last 20 rounds. It isn't your last 25 rounds. It isn't any of that, because if you can't also put a time limit on there, it's just, to me, it's pointless. So for me, I don't mind going back 7 weeks. You get a pretty good data sample that way. It might be a little long for some, but I think it works pretty well. But yeah, you want somewhere between 1 to 3 for your top 3 buckets. That's that 1 to 20 range, 20 to 40, 40 to 60. And then this, I actually go down to 0. If this isn't at least 2 points higher than this, we bring this one to 0. So this is 0 to 2. So this would never be an anchor bucket for me. But the rest of them, since these all, when we round up, they go to 3. These round down to 1. So we're going to keep those as is. And those are your buckets for the week. So again, I don't like to talk about players. I like to talk about the stats that you want to be looking around. You yourselves can do that pretty easily. You can use the cheat sheet that I have down below just to go in and filter out. I mean, just scroll over to here. You can see there's your course history stats, but I also have all the bucket scores right here. So if you're following along with me, it's pretty simple for you just to either use this, the bucket scores, or just look at the course history numbers, the last year numbers. I do have last week over here in this column, and then I also have recent form over here in this column. So you guys can all take a look at this by using the cheat sheet below. And obviously we went through the buckets. They're also there for you too. You're going to see this exact same screen. You're going to be able to follow, and you're going to be able to put filters on there. So if you want to see, at least 1, you can go in here and put greater than or equal to 1. And this is basically your anchor buckets. So we do that, and it thins out some of the buckets, and then you can choose golfers from here and use the projections as kind of your, your safe, I don't know what you want to call it. Your safety net, I guess. It's entirely up to you guys. Like I said, these projections normally are 94% correct. That's what I've seen. Just doing this week in and week out, you can check the review videos, because that's what I calculate. How successful are these buckets week in and week out? Pretty high clip. It's a pretty high clip. So again, the cheat sheet is in the description below. You can get there. Pretty simple. I don't have anything else to talk about, so we can end it here. Pretty short video, which I'm actually excited about. Reminder, if you want $10, be subscribed to the channel and comment down below. Give me your favorite golfer, your favorite play, your favorite bucket. Give me something, just anything, doesn't matter. Comment down below. You'll get an entry into this giveaway, and I am running this at the end of the week. Someone will win $10. And I'm going to do it again tomorrow. So be on the lookout for the strategy video tomorrow. I'm going to basically give away $20 this week, just like for certain. There's no goals needing to be met. For all of you that are subscribed, I'm just going to reward you guys. So easy as that. And then obviously your prize picks giveaway link is in the description below to sign up with prize picks. Put $20 in your account, and that is after using the promo code SweetSpot, and I'm going to give you $20. I get a report of all the new signups, how much money they actually deposit. I don't know exactly how transparent that is. So like if you were to put $1,000 in there, I'm not sure. I don't know where the threshold is, but I will see if you put at least $20 in. So highly encourage you guys to do that, because I'm going to just reward you, give you 20 bucks back. And you get to play Prize Picks. It's pretty easy. I won a lot of money this last week in Prize Picks. I won a lot of money in DFS at the Arnold Palmer, and I use the bucket system the strictest anyone does. Obviously, the birthplace is here. I know what I'm doing when looking at the buckets, so obviously that makes sense. But looking to have a good week this week, doing the buckets. Reach out if you have any questions, especially if you also want that optimizer. I have no problem sending that. But let's end this one. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.